Hey everybody, I want to welcome you guys to our easy Thanksgiving feast cooking demo. I'm Adrian Alvi, your host tonight. I am chef and a baker, and I'm so excited to show you the things that I've been doing for my own family for the last 30 years every Thanksgiving. So I have some great recipes to share with you tonight. First of all, I want to welcome everybody who's joining us or who will be joining us. Thanks for tuning in tonight. It means a lot to us. Thank you so much for being interested in learning more about how to make your cooking, your baking easier, tastier, and even healthier than ever before. So without further ado, this is how it's going to work tonight. So I'm going to have a whole bunch of different dinner items and dessert items that we'll be making and demoing. We'll be doing some actual hands-on demo with some of the products. Some have been already partly done or totally done, and we have those ready to go. But I'm going to show you for each thing that we do, the tips and the tricks that are going to make it super easy for you to be able to take care of your family, have amazing food, amazing desserts, and the tastiest they've ever had. So we want to make that happen for you this year. Here's the menu. First we're going to do turkey. We have a turkey in the oven right now. Homemade turkey gravy, no lumps, guys. Rolls with Italian butter, traditional stuffing, mashed potatoes, and roasted veggies. That's for dinner. For dessert, we're going to have pumpkin pie, a baked apple crisp with a crumb topping, cinnamon roll cookie bars with salted caramel frosting, and that's going to be awesome. So we're going to show you a lot. We're actually going to be demoing those cinnamon roll cookie bars. It's one of my favorites, but some people get a little intimidated with how to roll up dough. So I'm going to show you tips on that. So we'll see how quick we can do this. Like I said, we haven't done this kind of a thing before, so I'm hoping that I haven't forgotten any key points, but you may see me trying to scramble to a drawer to try to find something. My wife Jennifer is taking the video. We'll be interacting throughout the course of the video. We just want to make it happen for you guys. It's going to be really casual. Ask all the questions you want. Jen will tell me the questions that you guys ask. I'm happy to answer anything. So I've got some potatoes going right now. These are mashed potatoes. And I'm going to show you in a second the way I cut potatoes. And I'll show you that in just a second. But right now I want to take this turkey out because the turkey can sit there for 30 to 45 minutes just fine while it tenderizes. Okay.
I have to say it smells divine.
It does smell divine. And I'm going to move the rack up because we're going to cheat a little bit on the rules. And I'm going to have two racks going at the same time. One on the bottom is going to have roasted vegetables. Now, let me show you what we've done for the roasted vegetables. And this is a little bit of the pre-part that we did. But look how beautiful these are right here. So we've just chopped up some roasted vegetables. Now, I have recipes, and I have pages and pages of recipes that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. All that you see here today is available in a recipe, plus a whole lot more. So this is, you can do whatever vegetables that you like. We like a variety, carrots, mushrooms, broccoli, little cauliflower, a couple kinds of onions here, and did I say mushrooms? And we're just gonna bake this, and now it's at 350. I'm gonna increase that to 375.
What'd you put on it?
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you that. Yeah, that was the key part, where we tossed it into a big bowl and we added a 1/4 cup of oil and then a couple tablespoons of Alvi's Incredible seasoning. We're talking a lot about Alvi's Incredible. It goes with everything and really brings out the natural flavor in whatever you put it on. It's our top seller, kind of our flagship product. We do have 18 seasoning blends and 7 sweetening blends and a universal baking mix. We'll be talking about all that. But then we just toss that and put it on this pan and it's ready to go. So I'm going to plop that in there. Normally we're going to bake that. The recipe calls for 400 degrees. We're going to cheat just a little bit, and that's okay with vegetables. They don't care that much. We're also going to put some of our desserts in there at the same time. So let me show you a little bit about this potato. So we need a knife, of course. So to peel or not to peel, this is one of the few times where I'm going to tell you you can be lazy and healthy at the same time. Normally those two things don't go together, but if you're lazy like me and don't want to peel your potatoes, they're healthier that way anyway. So you can do that. However, you do miss out a little bit on that really, really smooth texture because you have pieces of peel. We love the peel. It tastes great to us. It doesn't bother us at all. But some families really like just to have that smooth, white, fluffy, traditional mashed potato. And by all means, peel the potatoes. It's gonna work either way. I'm gonna tell you a couple of tricks on how to cut a really good potato for mashed potatoes. One thing is you don't wanna have all your potatoes be a bunch of different sizes. A lot of little tiny pieces and then a lot of bigger chunks. You want to try to keep it as even as possible. So I just cut that in half, and you can see where the bad spots are when you normally cut a potato through. See you later on the bad spots there, off to the side. So this one is actually, it's cut in half, so just like that. And I'm going to do a couple of slices. See if I can turn it so you can see. A couple of slices right down the middle like that. And you just, it's about a 1/2 inch, right? About a 1/2 inch. Now the problem, if they're too small, they're gonna get mushy before the bigger ones are even cooked. So the more uniform you can keep them, the better off you're gonna be. And boom, you're done. And that's great. It's gonna take about 15 to 20 minutes to boil these. These got started about, maybe 8 minutes ago or so. And we're going to keep an eye on those because you don't want them to get too overcooked because they can turn out mushy. And you don't want mushy potatoes. They retain water. They don't end up as fluffy as you want them. And they end up being sort of not mealy, but not the right texture for your perfect potato. So this I will set aside.
So if you cut your potatoes ahead of time because you have a bunch of things you're prepping, how do you keep them from turning all brown and gross?
In fact, what I do, regardless of how long that potato has to sit there, and that's an excellent question, is because of the starch, it's going to start to brown almost right away. And so what I like to do is just have a little bowl with water, however much you think you're going to need, that size of a bowl, and you just put the potatoes as you cut them right into the bowl of water. Now I had these potatoes sitting for a couple of hours before actually just putting them in there. And they were just fine, no brown whatsoever. So we just strain them, put them in a strainer, and then I put them right into the boiling water, 15 to 20 minutes. Those are gonna be done. We're gonna strain them again, and then we'll put them in our mixer, and they'll be basically ready. We just add our milk, our seasoning, a little butter. So if there's any other questions, let me know.
So far, we just got a lot of people waving and saying hi.
All right. Hi, thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so I talked about dessert. We talked a little bit about, we took that turkey out. Let's get a little cheek and sneak peek at this guy.
Yes.
So
you've had foil on the entire time?
the answer is yes and no, but I'm going to turn it around because you don't want to see that end. Who wants to see that end first? So, okay. A little off to the side.
Audrey asked if she saw skin on the potatoes. Yes, Adrian left the skins on. We like them that way, but you don't have to.
So our turkey here is looking really, really good. And what I did is I took this out a few minutes before we started, and I hit it with a broil for about 4 minutes or so, just on broil on that low rack. So I kept it covered, and that keeps the moisture in. Like, this turkey is totally done, but it's like literally falling off the bone, and it's totally moist. And I can just tell this breast, just by the softness of it and the way this is cooked, that is going to be a totally moist turkey breast. And we've given a little bit of color by hitting it with the broil at the end. So by keeping it covered with the foil, now this is not a brine turkey. I didn't do any brining. I didn't do it. In fact, this was a frozen turkey this morning. They didn't even have any fresh turkeys at the store.
Too early for fresh. I tried, guys.
And so it was a frozen turkey. We thawed it out by putting it under some running water there for a couple of hours, and so it was thawing. And then I kind of ran water on the inside as I was trying to get those have the neck and the kidney bag with the liver and the other stuff. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, what to do with those things. But it took me a little work to get that out. You might run into that problem too, where your turkey is not entirely thawed, because even if it's partially thawed, it's sometimes hard to get those out. Just run some cold water over there. It's okay. It's not going to hurt the quality of the turkey just by running water through it or on it. And I was finally able to get that neck and that bag of goodies that they have in there out. And then I simply coated that with oil and then put Alvi's Incredible on it. And there's a couple of things that I'm going to show you about that turkey that's going to really help us later, the way I did that earlier. Okay. Now that leads us to, we did that, the cinnamon roll cookie bars that we're going to do right now, okay? So I made this dough ahead of time. So I not that long ago. This was maybe, I mean, honestly, earlier, like I was telling Jen, I did the prep work for this, and I was really astounded at how, because I had the Sweetenings, because I had the universal baking mix, how easily and smoothly everything flowed. I wasn't really, everything I had, every recipe I needed, it's mostly using the same base and flavorings, and then you just add tweak a few other ingredients. You're able to make all these different things. It was nice. That was kind of a confirmation of what I'm hoping that they do for everybody. So I've got some flour. Now I'm going to tell you what to do. Sometimes you're going to make a mistake, right? What happens if you're doing a Thanksgiving dinner and you're following a recipe and you're like, I put in too much water, for example. Now this dough, and I found a mistake on my recipe that I had printed out, calls for a 1/3 cup water, and I had on the thing a 1/2 cup water. So I ended up putting too much water in there. And so does that mean that, like, do you have to throw that away? Are we done? What if you don't have any more eggs? What if you don't have any more butter, or something you really need? Do you have to run to the store? No, because most of the time you can fix it and recover. So this one, really what helps with this, instead of doing it right away and rolling it out just like you would like a cinnamon roll type of a thing, actually having it in the fridge for a while will help make it more solid. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a lot more flour than I normally would while I'm rolling this out. And so if you're having a dough problem, and you have to pay a little bit of attention. So this one is a case where you have baking powder that you add to the universal baking mix to give it a little bit more oomph when it cooks. I'm just going to use a lot more flour as I go, and you kind of just knead that in there. And like I said about baking powder, knowing that it was a little bit thin, I just added just a little bit more baking powder because I know I'm adding a little bit more flour. Now, just follow the recipe and you won't have to worry about these kinds of things. But I'm just saying that sometimes if you make a mistake, sometimes you can recover if you have the right knowledge, or if you have just a basic understanding of how the baking process works. And that can be kind of a mystery for a lot of people. I understand that. Okay, so I'm just kind of kneading that out. And what I'm going to do is roll it out and show you a couple tricks about making cinnamon rolls or cinnamon roll type swirly things. Everybody likes those, but usually it ends up, you look on Pinterest and you have a great looking swirly recipe, and you end up on one of those websites where you have a picture of what it actually turned out like versus the picture of what it was supposed to turn out like.
I know, Pinterest is so pretty. All the pictures make everything look perfect.
Always so pretty. What we want to do is we want to increase your odds in hitting that Pinterest level
Pretty.
quality. Pretty, yeah. What I'm going to do is, because I forgot that this rolls out a little bit more.
So how thick is that rolled out, you say?
So you really want to hit about a 1/4 inch or so. This is a dough, like I said, it's a little bit on the soft side, and in fact, this is going to be a great example of how to do a dough, and it's even harder when it's in a really, really softer form. So I'm going to show you some tips on how to maintain that nice, tight spiral, even if you have a dough that's kind of a little bit hard to work with or a little bit soft. So that should help a little bit.
So you just split it in two and doing two separate ones?
That's right. I'm going to do, just because I've had to add more flour in that dough, it's making a little bit more, but you're going to want, it's not that much bigger than it's going to turn out, maybe 15% or so, not that much more. I'm going to melt some butter, and what we're going to do is we're going to really melt the butter. I have a brush here. It's really hard to find brushes, I'm just going to let you know, that don't leave
Shed.
hairs, don't shed. This one I've had for years and years, and it's never shed. Almost every other brush I've bought sheds, and I wish I knew what to do about that. Maybe I should just spend more.
The silicone ones don't, I don't think, but they don't as flexible.
Yeah, that's true. You do have the silicone ones, but I really like the versatility you get with this. A little more control. So I've got basically just a 1/4 cup there, and I'm going to put enough so that it's going to fully coat and get rid of any loose flour there. That's the main thing, is because when you roll that up, you're going to have that butter. That butter is going to enable you to have the grip that you need. You're going to put the cinnamon sugar, and so that's going to loosen it up too. So that butter, if you have a little bit more butter on there, it'll also absorb that cinnamon sugar when you put that on. Because that's what we're going to use our cinnamon sugar sweetening in this. And it turns out fantastic. And we also have an apple crisp, which I'm going to be doing here in a second as well. We got a little extra. It's a 1/4 cup. Looks like 1/4 cup is like plenty, so.
Jeff says you should invent one, a brush that doesn't shed.
And in the future, Save the Day, we'll be doing all kinds of stuff to make your cooking easier on the utensil and the cooking part as well.
So show me what jar that one is.
Okay, this is the brown sugar cinnamon.
I want to see it. The brown
See,
sugar
now it's all dusty, but
Yeah.
there you go.
Okay.
And I'm going to sprinkle it on. The thing calls for about 2 tablespoons. But you know what? Use what you think. We'll fill it up well. I'm going to use a little bit, probably more than 2 tablespoons on this here.
Put it on thick. We love it.
We're at a little bit low on this, actually, and that's the end of this one. Okay.
Okay, that'll do it.
And we have another one, but it's sitting over there, and that's okay. But for our purpose, what you do is that first loop is you're just going to fold it and roll it around that top, okay? Fold it and roll it around, and you just simply work your way around. Kind of just, you can even just tickle that thing up and around.
It does look like you're tickling it.
You don't really force it. You don't really lift it. You just kind of move it forward. And as you're going forward, you can see you want it to line up as a square so you can pull that out, but you're just working it all the way around.
So do you think one of the tricks is making sure you have enough flour on your mat so it doesn't
Flour
stick?
is critical. I mean, if this is going to stick,
Can you get too much flour?
You can get too much flour, and then it just gets caked on the sides, and you'll notice that.
Yeah.
In this case, I know the dough is soft enough so that that's not going to be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to like pat it and roll it, and boom, we're kind of done right there. So as we do that, we cut it. Oh, it's really soft, so it's really hard actually for me to get that. I'm going to just flour that up a little bit.
Will it stick into your knife?
Yeah, it is sticking to the knife, but hopefully we'll be able to see the spiral inside on some of these because it's kind of tearing through a little bit. So that's too bad on this, but I'll tell you what, we need to spray those a little bit because we're gonna, sorry, just a little cooking spray on that.
I'm gonna come around a different angle, see if this is easier to see it. You just gotta roll there. So you're just placing it in there next to each other?
Yeah, I'm just placing them right next to each other. And basically what you're gonna have is they're gonna expand and they're gonna fill that whole thing. It's like a cookie bar. And
So these don't raise like cinnamon rolls.
they're gonna raise somewhat, but they're not gonna be they're not a bread dough. So a cinnamon roll is a bread dough, really. And this is more a cookie dough, so that's why they're cinnamon roll cookie bars. They will raise. And so as I'm getting these together, I'm gonna have Jen, as she's taking the, or maybe I don't have another assistant nearby, to grab the apples for the apple crisp. And I wanna just whip that really quick. And I am very interested to see, because of the butter in there, it may be able to open up just really nicely when they cook. No, we're gonna find out. Yeah, we'll see how bad that mistake was, using too much water, but I'd rather find out now than later.
Any questions out there so far? We've tried to give you all the info, but if you think of something to ask, just
feel
chime
free
in
to ask,
and
guys.
I will ask him for you.
Let's take a quick look at our mashed potatoes while we're doing that.
Let's do that.
And so,
If you want to hold this, showing the mashed potatoes, I'll get the apples.
okay. So with mashed potatoes here, I can just tell by moving it, by mixing it, they're still a little bit hard. What I'll do when I think they're a little bit, when they're close, is I'll just take one out and I'll poke it with my finger and see how soft it is. I'll tell you what about the perfect texture is. Because you're going to want them to fall right apart when you mix them, but you don't want them to be mushy, like I said earlier. So Thank you so much. Okay, so the apples is our strainer here. Our strainer.
Did I put it away or
I
something?
told you I was going to be looking for something here.
Yeah.
Let's get a new strainer then. I'm going to strain the apples. Now in this case, I really do want these pretty dry. The more moisture that's in here, the more those apples, when they cook and bake in the oven, are going to kind of be swimming in their own water, and it doesn't turn out to be as much of a sauce. It's more watery. So you want to avoid the watery texture.
I don't like it watery.
Yeah. But a nice good shake is fine. You don't have to like do the paper towel or a towel dry or anything like that. And this, I did spray with cookie grease, but there really is not necessarily a reason to do that. So it doesn't need to be sprayed. I'm going to rinse my hands.
So how many apples?
That is 4 apples, peeled and sliced, 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch on that slice. And it's just been in a water bath with a little lemon juice. And I'm going to do my...
I know we have a question. Jeanette Whipple wanted to know which cookie recipe was that. We're not done with it, but this is the cinnamon roll
cookie bar.
Cinnamon roll cookie bar.
Cinnamon roll cookie bar recipe, yeah. So this is different than cookie recipe. It's something sort of kind of off the cusp type of thing.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's real tasty. I love
Yeah,
it.
it was really, really tasty, and especially if this dough is a lot thicker, it's a lot easier to roll together. You'll certainly find that out.
Yeah, because homemade cinnamon rolls are really, they're time sucker. I didn't know how to say it, but
They're time consuming.
time consuming.
And
Thank you.
they do require a little bit of skill, but usually you're making a yeast dough where you're having it rise, and then you have to punch it down, and you get a roll, and all kind of. We're trying to see if we can do something that is a little bit easier, but gives you something that you can really be proud of. So I'm going to put these in right now.
What temperature again?
375.
375.
Yeah, let me just make sure it's at 375.
Yeah, Audrey want to know, were they in water? The apple slices were in water because we cut them in advance, but they don't have to be. But then he just rinsed them out, the water out, and tried to get them as drained as possible.
Yeah, and just a little bit of lemon juice in that water will keep them from turning brown. Apples are more sensitive than potatoes, so potatoes are fine in just regular water. Apples, there's like a fruit fresh product you can use, or there's citric acid basically, or you can just use squeezed lemon for natural.
Yeah.
No,
Because
they're
on
really nice.
Thanksgiving, as much prep as you can do in advance, the less stressful you are, when you're trying to put it all together.
So I'm going to melt 1/4 cup butter, and I have in my little bowl. I just had my little bowl.
This bowl?
No, it was a red bowl with my baking mix in it. Oh, white bowl. That's
White
right.
bowl.
And I do need to tap into our brown sugar cinnamon because
Okay.
we're out of that one. So here we go on this one. We've been using this one quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, that brown sugar cinnamon, man. It's so many things you can put that with.
Yes, so many.
I love it in my oatmeal in the morning.
2 tablespoons, guys. So we got 1/2 cup of universal baking mix. This is the first time we've really talked about universal baking mix. 1/2 cup of that in there. And 2 tablespoons brown sugar cinnamon.
Okay.
And then we've got this 1/4 cup butter. So I'm gonna just take a fork, right? Fork is perfect thing to do this with, and this is all on the recipe. Mix it in first, give it a nice little stir, and then that 1/4 cup of butter, melted butter all the way. And then you simply take that fork, you stir it, you mix it, and it makes this like crumb topping.
Now, could you use a butter substitute? Could you use like
You can use margarine, you can use Smart Balance, whatever it is you use, it's fine. That's great. Let's take a quick look at these potatoes. So, take a quick look at the potatoes.
Yes, let's see how they're doing. How do you tell when they're done?
So I'm going to poke it with my finger when I feel like they're close. Let me really quick do that right now. So I'll just take one, and I usually grab one that's a good size one so you can tell how the big ones are. Like that. And I'll poke it, and you can see that that's pretty much fallen apart nicely. but it's not like falling apart in the water, and that's the key. It falls apart to the touch, but it doesn't fall apart just by moving it around in the water. If I had forgotten about this and left it for 10 more minutes, when I came back and stirred it, it's just gonna all like crumble. It may still be possibly usable, but again, it'd be more dense and it'd retain more water. So really quick, I'm gonna get this in the oven. Now, this is gonna make more than I need actually, so I'm gonna save this and we can use that for something else. Or you can just go ahead and just load that on, and maybe it isn't more than we need.
I like it loaded.
I do too, so.
I like more topping than the apple.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that. Yeah, it's actually just about right, so. So we're gonna put that on there. And then that's gonna go right in the oven just like that. And that should take about 20 minutes. So while those desserts are going, we got those roasted vegetables that we already got going. They're cooking away in there. Our next project here is to get rid of this mess here. And then I'm going to show you this turkey. We're going to talk a little turkey. So, referring to what we had on the menu before, we have the turkey, the homemade gravy, which we're going to be doing in a minute, these rolls with Italian butter. Our stuffing we haven't talked about, potatoes we're about to do right now. And our roasted veggies are in the oven. For dessert, we have our pumpkin pie, which is coming. Our apple crisp is in the oven. Our cinnamon roll cookie bars are in the oven. I already have some salted caramel frosting. I'm gonna tell you just how easy it is to make the frostings with the Sweetenings, with that caramel frosting. All right, so we've got the turkey out, and we've done those, the bars. And,
Definitely chime in your turkey questions, because that was a great time. I know that's something that there's a lot of concern usually about how to do your turkey so it's not dry and whatnot.
Okay. So what we have here, I'm going to show you what I've got on stuffing, okay? So the stuffing really quick, the recipe is really pretty easy. You're going to saute a couple of celery stalks, about a half an onion or one small or medium onion, and you add some butter, your seasonings, which in our case we're using Alvi's Incredible, and we add a little bit of sage. Sage is a must for your traditional stuffings. And we've added also some dried cranberries and some slivered almonds. Those are typically optional for a lot of people, but I'll show you what we got here. Now I did this earlier, and I was experimenting a little bit. I wanted to see if just regular fresh cranberries would work well in this. So I put some fresh cranberries in and sauteed them with the onions, and it turns out they don't work that well. So what it is, they bring that bitterness that they have, those regular cranberries. And so dried cranberries is the best. And we did add dried cranberries to this, but I just really needed to know, can you use fresh? And the answer, I don't recommend using fresh, but dried cranberries are great. So we have the dried cranberries and these little slivered almonds. Now, a couple of things on the stuffing. When you have, and you add a little chicken stock, or you can even use water instead of chicken stock, because the seasonings really add enough flavor to you can cheat and do that. And we're going to show you just use water, in fact, instead of chicken stock with your gravy, with your drippings as well. But you can do this as soon as you heat the water to boiling with the stuffing moisture that you've just mixed with the onions and the celery. If I can spit that out fast enough. I'm going to turn that off because I'm going to dump this here in a second. You pour that in a big bowl over your dried breadcrumbs. You just mix it up really, really quick, and I dump it in these. Now you can just let that sit, and you can serve that about 5 minutes later. I prefer, however, you put it in. Now that's if you're in a hurry. I really think you should put this in, and I'm going to do that right here with one of them. Put that in the oven, and we're going to bake that for about 10 minutes. So the stuffing's in. And that leads us to, is there any questions? If there's any questions?
Not yet.
Okay, that's great. Turkey, let's talk turkey a little bit.
Okay.
So the turkey, and I probably can grab this just by my hands. Yes, just by itself. What you end up with then is you have this turkey. And I don't even have a baster, right? This has not been basted at all, and yet it is.
Oh man, I can't wait to eat that.
I better dump this or else that's gonna get too soft. So switching gears really, really quick here as I dump this into this.
Oh, the potatoes?
Yeah. What I'm gonna do is, just because, you know, those are still cooking, everything's good. It's perfect. Oh, yeah. You can get in a hurry and do that, or you can just strain them and just hold on to them right here, and they'll still be just fine even 10 minutes from now, because they're not boiling in water anymore. To go ahead and still put it in the mixer super hot, and you put your butter and your milk in with there and your seasoning. So I'm just gonna cover that up really quick. Ready to go. Okay, so my spoon here, I don't even have a baster here right now, guys. So we have lots and lots of these turkey drippings here. And I don't know if you can really see how much, but anyway, quite a bit turkey drip. It's nice to just grab a little and toss it on. Never hurts. We're gonna use these drippings here. And that gives you that sort of nice glossy look. That gives it a nice, gives you a nice picture anyway when you take it. But you can see our little thermostat thing is up and out, and that's reliable. You can do that. The leg test is great. Look how this leg is ready to just pop right on out of that socket. It's delicious looking. Totally going to be done. You don't have to worry about this not being cooked well enough. 165 degrees is the typical. So if you have a thermometer at home, you can plug that right into the thick part of the breast, test that, 165 degrees, you're good.
Good question. Cheryl Myers wanted to know, can the stuffing be put inside the turkey when you bake it?
Yeah, and it sure can. And everybody, you know, USD will always tell you that, you know, you can get sick from that stuffing because it's in there and it's at a questionable temperature and can stay at that questionable temperature for a period of time. You know what? And so is eating rare meat. That's always a risk too. So there's always a risk with that, but a lot of people do it, and it's usually just fine. So you can put that stuffing right in there, and it does make great flavored stuffing, taking that out. It doesn't affect the cooking time or the way you cook it at all.
Do you ever do it?
I have done it before, but it's been many years since I've done that. Yeah, I think I probably fell into the it'll probably make me sick category, but it also falls into the it'll probably won't make me sick category. So,
what seasonings are on the turkey?
Yeah, so when I put this together, like I said, I have a recipe or a recipe card that comes with our Thanksgiving pack that I'll be talking about, the Thanksgiving pack we have on special right now. Okay. It has all these recipes for Thanksgiving turkey with lots of tips and turkey gravy. I'm going to add the turkey roll recipe, the homemade turkey stock recipe that you can do with the leftovers here and with these gizzards and stuff. I'll just show you what typically comes with a turkey, just in case you don't know. A bag of stuff that is the kidneys, the liver, the heart, and the neck. And a lot of people like these. There's really nothing wrong with eating any of these, but typically if you don't eat these, you can use this to make a turkey stock that's really, really nice later. Except for the liver. I don't recommend using the liver in turkey stock. So that's that. But what I did is simply coated this with oil, and then I poured the Alvi's Incredible from the shaker right on top. Just coated it really well. And a couple things happen when you do that. And it's right in this pan as I'm coating it. That Alvi's Incredible that's on there, a lot of that's falling off and it's shaken to the bottom. And then when this cooks, those drippings go down. The Alvi's Incredible is simmering with these meat drippings. And if you've tried our Alvi's Incredible, you know it's going to work on pretty much everything. And turkey is not an exception. And so what we have is these turkey drippings that have all this Alvi's Incredible already in it. So I have a turkey gravy recipe that calls for 2 teaspoons of Alvi's Incredible, but I'm not going to put any in to start. I want to taste it without any, just to see if it needs any more. Okay, so we'll test that tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually get some turkey going. I'm going to put this on a serving dish right now, which
the serving dish, yeah.
We have right here. So here's
do you want me to just? Okay.
No, I got this. Is not a problem. Let me show you. Like I said, this turkey is literally almost falling apart right now because it's so moist and tender. I'm going to do the 2-fork method here. And if you have big forks, that's great. You can put 2 forks, poke them in like right underneath. You have to they have to kind of be opposite. So you have to put them right underneath on the sides there, and you can move the whole thing just like that. Now I did tie that up, but I couldn't find any twine. I used this metal stuff. So typically you'll have that turkey and you can tie that up and you can actually tie it up higher up if you want, tie that whole thing together, and that's when you get that really tight looking, nice picture style turkey if you really want to have that. Okay, so what we got here is I'm going to take this and I'm going to cover it up. I think hopefully this is enough. And that'll just keep it warm. Now this is still warm and it's good for probably another 10 minutes or so, just sitting like that, and it'll be nice when we cut it.
So what's the advantage of letting it rest after it comes out of the oven?
So by letting it rest, it actually gives that meat, it's tender already, but then it gives that meat a chance, just like you would take a steak off the grill, it gives it a chance for the flavor to permeate then off the heat, and it makes it more tender and more even a depth of flavor as you let it sit. I'm going to put a little bit of this in. I need a little pan.
So does it matter if you season the turkey inside the cavity or under the skin?
Say that again?
Does it matter if you season the turkey inside the cavity or under the skin?
The answer is the more creative you want to get with that, it's even better. You can add more depth of flavor to it. You can we put fruit underneath the skin. Yeah, you can inject it. I know a lot of people will inject, and that's a great way to do it. So there's no really wrong answer or wrong way to do it. It's what you prefer. But you have some really easy ways to start off really, really basic. Use the Alvi's Incredible on top, then do whatever you want on top of that. A lot of people, it's tradition, right? It's tradition to do a turkey a certain way or using a certain thing. But everybody's looking for a way to make sure that turkey comes out just right. So that's what I'm trying to do, is give you some good tips to do that. So with this, you can do a couple things. There's going to be a lot of fat and a lot of pieces and parts there. Some people just dump it all in there, and that's okay if you want to have all those things. Or you can strain it, which we'll do. We'll strain it a little bit. Maybe I'll just use this one again. Okay. So I'm actually going to strain it right into our pot where we're going to use it for making our really, really easy turkey gravy. So I'm going to put about a couple cups of drippings here. You have a couple options. Some people like a nice creamy gravy, and some people like just a really traditional gravy. That kind of looks like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of a lot. I think
okay.
it's probably, no, that's about right.
I like a lot of gravy.
Well, I just want to make sure, because I got the cornstarch already mixed up, and want to make sure that, I think that's just about right. So because the gravy, you can look at that, and I'm going to get a little wire whip because we'll be using a wire whip for this. Now I'm just going to heat this up, and you can see that it's all ready. It doesn't really need any more water to be added to it because it's not all fat. There's a lot of water that's came from the turkey because, like I said, it was frozen when I put it. There were still parts of it that were still frozen in that inner cavity, and so some of that melted water came out, and you almost have an automatic gravy here. So I'm not going to add anything to this except cornstarch, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch mixed with 2 tablespoons of water. And I'm not going to add it this second, but you have to, if you mix it any more than 10 minutes ahead of time, you got to give it a little stir because it settles to the bottom, all right? So I'm going to add that actually after this gets hot, okay? So now I'm going to set this to the side. Now, one thing I really, really want that don't have yet is a double oven, because I would love to be able to do this, like multiple things. So I'm using the cheating system, literally cooking multiple things at the same time. And you kind of get what you get sometimes when you do that. So I recommend, if you can avoid doing 2 or 3 things at the same time, you're going to have more consistent results. But it usually, if you figure out what you're trying to do, it usually will work. You can see the cinnamon rolls are cooking mostly evenly just fine there. I'm going to close it because I don't want to have it open too long. So. Okay. I think we're making fantastic progress on this. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with these rolls now. I'm going to show you how easy these are. These are just Rhodes rolls that we get frozen. You can use a frozen bread dough type of a roll. This was already melted. I'm going to add just a little bit so it's melted a little bit more. There's two ways you can do this Italian butter on these rolls. So we just put these in here, 2 rolls to a thing on a sprayed cupcake liner. And we just let them rise for a few hours and baked them at 350 for about 15 to 18 minutes. And right when they come out, it's a great time to put the butter on. It'll absorb a little bit better. The other option then is instead of melting the butter and putting this is a 1/4 cup butter and 1 teaspoon of our Italian Save the Day seasoning here, and this is just delicious, right on top of that roll, is just soften the butter a little bit, still add the same teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and then you can have that nice soft butter. This is starting to boil, that's looking good. I'm gonna add that cornstarch in just a second. But then you have a nice soft butter. You tear this roll open, you spread it on just like you would regular butter. And you can still do that if you want to with these rolls. The Italian seasoning is what really makes this thing special. Our Italian seasoning you literally can use with just tomato sauce and our Italian seasoning to make a fantastic spaghetti sauce or pizza sauce. And you don't need any other seasonings added to it. That's kind of the magic of the seasonings in general. Some of this Italian settled to the bottom. I'm just going to put a little bit more of that on top. These are delicious looking. I'm going to put those right on the table. Should I put them right on the table? Okay, and those are ready for serving to your guests, and you can just see how wonderful those look. Okay, and then there's our 2 teaspoons of cornstarch. That should thicken up within about a minute to 2 minutes. And if it doesn't thicken up, you can always add a little bit more cornstarch in the process I just showed you. Now, you can also add a 1/4 cup of milk to this, and that'll give it a more creamy, if you like that creamy sort of gravy. Or if you want the more traditional, not exactly clear, but opaque gravy, and that's what we're gonna do here. It still tastes really, really good either way.
Question for you, does it matter if your cornstarch water is cold going into the hot? Do you need to kind of acclimate it? Or
It's cold water. Cold water is much more effective.
It doesn't lump up if it goes straight in? You don't have to...
What's that? Lumping out?
Yeah, I grew up thinking that you had to get your cornstarch mixed with the warm before you dump it all in. Like, I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
It's specifically cold water you use
Okay.
with cornstarch.
Cool.
So it's starting to thicken up a little bit. I used a little bit more moisture, a little more water than the recipe would call for, because I was, of course, just guessing on that. It might be enough. We'll see about that. What I'm concerned about is the taste, so let's check the flavor. I'll take a little spoon. We'll get a little
So
tasty
you didn't
taster.
add any more seasonings because the drippings had it in there.
That's right. So I have it, and it looks like a gravy. Oh, wow. It's not thick enough yet, and I'm deciding whether I need to add a little more cornstarch because I might just do that. The flavor, it tastes just exactly like a turkey noodle soup kind of would taste. I'm going to actually add a little bit more of the Alvi's Incredible because it can use a little bit more. But you wouldn't want to use 2 teaspoons. I would use just 1 in this case. So that's what I'm going to put in there. Just about a teaspoon of that. And I like to add just a little bit more cornstarch here so I can make sure it's going to be thick enough for everybody's flavor. Like I said, on the recipe, it's going to have exact amounts.
You didn't measure when you put it in. So.
Just for the liquid portion, I didn't measure when I put it in, right? So, and that's good. You'd be measuring and then it'll thicken up perfectly. It's almost thick enough. Well, let's just get it right.
Well, I imagine people have different tastes on or preferences on how thick their gravy is. Some people
Yeah,
probably
maybe
like
so.
it runnier than others, but
Yeah. So that's going to be just about right. Since it's just my family, I'm going to use the same spoon here, but I wouldn't do that normally. Let's give it a little taste here. Oh, wow. And now we're really talking. Boy, that is some good gravy. And so that's going to be perfect. Now, the gravy is the perfect remedy for dry turkey. So no matter how hard you try, you get one shot at making your Thanksgiving turkey. If it's dry, it's not the end of the world because you have such a good turkey gravy recipe. And if it's dry, you're more likely to have more drippings to take from because it's usually sucked them all out of it. And so when you make that gravy, you just put that right on your turkey and boom, it's perfect again. So dry turkey is never a problem. So what I'll do here, I'll put this gravy in a gravy boat. And then we'll be all ready to go with that.
I bet you all wish you were here tonight, and we're gonna have a nice later dinner.
I'm really glad I'm here tonight. Okay, so there's our turkey gravy, and that's gonna go on the table too.
Okay.
So we're already getting real close to our Thanksgiving dinner. We've got our mashed potatoes ready to go. I guess I'll bring the KitchenAid right over here.
Okay. Yeah, the mashed potatoes. I'm gonna sneak another
So,
peek here.
I'm a big KitchenAid fan,
Ooh, yeah.
and I use it a lot. We use the KitchenAid a lot. But you literally, a hand mixer is just fine. Little hand mixer, no problem at all. And I'm gonna put that in, and I need my butter, of course. So one thing I like to do with mashed potatoes then is not make them cold by adding super cold milk and then a cold thing of butter and making the potatoes do all the work. Because at the end of the day, we want those potatoes to get to the table nice and hot. And typically, if you add a half cup of cold milk, you add a quarter cup of cold butter, it'll probably be just fine, but let's just make sure that it is just fine. So I'm gonna microwave this. 20 seconds is usually just fine for a quarter cup of butter. And then for our milk, I'm gonna put a little milk in a measuring cup. And for the amount of potatoes that I did, I'm gonna do about a half cup. And I think I've got maybe, I wanna warm it up a little bit, that's the thing. That's not quite done. It was really hard butter. And the reason why, now even if I just make this lukewarm, then that'll be great. Because what you just, if it's super cold, it really affects that temperature on there.
Yeah, I never thought about warming that up before you make it. It's a good idea. Oh, I'll chime in right now real quick, just throwing this out there just in case, and we'll mention again later. If anybody ends up wanting to purchase any of the seasonings or sweetenings or the Thanksgiving pack that we're going to show here at the end, we just ask that when you check out, if you're not already connected with a host in a separate party order number or site, to please in the memo section make mention of the name of your host or those who invited you, so that they can get their host rewards for this online cooking class.
Thank you. So as you can see, I just lifted the lid. It's still super hot, ready to go. No
Yes,
problem at all.
it's
They've been sitting there for a while. So we put that there. And with potatoes, give that little pot a rinse right after you take those out because, man, it gets hard to clean after a while. So I'm going to put my quarter cup of butter in there. Again, any butter substitute is just fine. No problem at all. And then I got that milk coming out in just a second. So let's give it just a little start here. I'll put about a quarter cup of milk to start, and if I need a little more, that's fine. Let's turn it up.
Now, what happens if you put too much milk in there? Does it just get all kind of
It's going
runny?
to just get runny. Yeah, it gets runny. Now, there's the fix for that is if you have potato flakes on hand, you can add some potato flakes there at the end, and that'll suck up that extra moisture, and nobody will know, guys. It's really, really helpful. So I'm going to scrape this guy here so that it all gets in there. Now, I did the peels on, so you're going to see the little flecks in there, and it's okay to do it either way, on or off, like I said before. All right, so we did the rolls. Let me get this pumpkin pie right over here. Now, let me show you what I did with the pumpkin pie. Now, you're going to get some noise from that in the background, probably. That won't take too long, just a few more seconds on that. I made this pumpkin pie. It's super easy. And I was telling Jen, I literally said, I'm going to make a pumpkin pie now. And a few minutes later, I said, how long did that take?
Oh my gosh, like
it was
45 seconds?
It was literally like, I don't know. If it was a minute, then I would be surprised. Because I'm going to show you what I did. So the pumpkin pie recipe here, which comes to all the Thanksgiving recipes we're doing today, plus more than what we're doing today, is on the Thanksgiving kit recipe card. And it'll be available to everybody anyway. Is I opened up one 15-ounce can of pumpkin that you just buy at the store, one regular 12-ounce can of evaporated milk, okay? And I put those in there, 1 cup sugar, a 1/4 cup of the pumpkin spice sweetening, save the day sweetening, in there, and 2 eggs. And just did it for about 30 seconds and poured it in the frozen crust. Now, I am all for homemade pie crust. No problem if you like to make a pie crust. I have a great recipe. Our baking mix doesn't do pie crust, but the frozen crust just makes it so easy that it literally took less than a minute for me to get this thing poured in there and then poured in here, and the oven was already warm. And so you bake it for 15 minutes at 400 degrees and then 40 to 45 minutes at 350 degrees. You just let it sit there and it comes out and it's a perfect pumpkin pie. So we'll be serving that up as well later with a little whipped cream on top, and you can even sprinkle a little of that pumpkin spice sweetening right on top, and that would make it really, really good. So I use the wire whip attachment in this, and the wire whip is the appropriate thing to use there. I'm going to put this in our bowl here. Now take a look at this potato that I did chop up earlier. And it's nice and brown, right?
Yeah.
So a little bit of water would take care of that, no problem. And even if it's a little bit brown, that may be too brown, but if it starts getting brown, a lot of times you can rinse it off and the brown will go away. So if it's brown a little bit, don't throw them away, but you can sometimes rinse that off. So these potatoes, you can just see now.
Did you season them at all?
Oh, I forgot to put the seasoning on, didn't I? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I have my teaspoon measure here. I'll do this one right here. And I have my bulk size Alvi's Incredible. And so Alvi's Incredible is the everything. And I'll put about 2 teaspoons in there. And I'm just going to mix that in. Normally you can just do that in another bowl instead of doing the mix as you go way. And it's always okay, guys, to use any of our seasonings just as regular table seasonings, and it doesn't matter. Say, you forgot to season this. Oh no, I forgot to season this. And that's okay. Just throw the Alvi's Incredible on the table and season like salt or pepper afterwards. Not a problem at all. All right, so those are ready to go, and I'm just going to wrap those in a little bit of foil because I don't want those to get too cold. Potatoes, once they are done up and once they are out of the pot and uncovered, they tend to cool down pretty quick. So I'm going to keep those covered up.
Now, did you put a teaspoon or a tablespoon of seasoning?
I put 2 teaspoons in this.
Okay.
Yeah, which I used a tablespoon measure to do that. So a tablespoon is 3 teaspoons. So I used 2/3 of that tablespoon.
Okay. So the spoon you used was a tablespoon, but you used less.
Yes, okay. It is. And so close is good enough, guys, because you can always add a little bit more. So now I am going to check these roasted veggies. Whoops. Let's grab a carrot. It's really good, but I think I'm still a few minutes away. And like I said, if that was at 400 degrees, it would be probably done now. And if it was alone in there, it would probably be done now. But it's going to take a little bit longer just because it's crowded in there. But boy, that is tasty. And that's almost done. So let's see, out of our menu then, what do we have remaining? I'll get the menu here. Okay, we've got our turkey. Now I'm going to give you some...
Oh, sorry. It was going to end the live video. I actually bumped it, but we're good now. I canceled it.
Yeah, we got our gravy on the table, the rolls on the table, the stuffing is in there. That's ready to go. I can take that out. The mashed potatoes are ready to go, and all we're waiting on is the roasted veggies. And that pumpkin pie is ready to go. The apple crisp is in there. The cinnamon roll cookie bars are in there, and the caramel frosting is done, ready to go. And so we're almost ready with our complete Thanksgiving dinner. And we're almost out of time too, which is we really didn't have a time, but I don't want to go too long for you guys. Okay, so we have the cookie bars. When those come out, I have made some This is a half batch of our salted caramel frosting. And so what I'm going to do is, it may be, because we're going to put this on after the cookie bars are done, but they're still a little bit warm. Okay, so we don't want them hot. Excuse me. Swallow the carrot. That would help. Not too hot, because then it'll just melt and it'll make a big mess. But if it's a little bit warm, that's exactly when you want to put the frosting on, because then it'll kind of seep into the bars and also leave the frosting on top. And so that is what I'm looking for, is I'm going to do that, and then I will post a picture of what that looks like at the end. So that is awesome. Let's see what we can grab out of here right now. So we have the turkey. Do you want to do carving, or what do we want to do with that?
Yeah, I bet people like to get some tips on carving,
Okay.
if you want to get a little cut in there.
So the cinnamon roll bars, the apple crisp is looking really nice. Cinnamon roll bars do look pretty good. So there's our stuffing. And now actually what you can do, and I won't do it this time, is with the stuffing, a lot of people like that really crispy top, and I'm kind of a fan too. I like it to be soft and moist in that middle, but I don't mind that top being crispy. Leave it in there uncovered for another 4 or 5 minutes, and then it'll get that top nice and crispy. And even if you are running short on time, hit the broil and keep a really close eye on that, and then you can broil that top too. It doesn't give you quite as deep of a crispness, but it'll do the job in a pinch. And so you can see here, we have a nice, it's moist, you can't quite tell it, it is moist. And I know it tastes good, except for the fresh cranberries, which would give it that little bit of bitter taste, which I ended up not liking. And that's your stuffing, so we're gonna put that on the table as well.
So somebody wanted to know that came in late what you put on the roasted veggies.
The roasted veggies, thank you. You chop up the veggies, and you can use any veggie you want. We give you some recommendations. In a bowl, I put a little oil on it and just toss it in the oil, and then I put a couple teaspoons of the Alvi's Incredible seasoning. So it's just the Alvi's Incredible all-purpose seasoning that we put on there.
But you could put other flavors too.
Yes, and we do that all the time. The Italian,
Yeah.
Mexican, Jamaican, you can use the Strong Arm, which is another one of our huge popular ones. These Alvi's Inferno, which is hot.
Lemon pepper.
Yeah,
Maybe.
the options are 18. So you have 18. We have salt-free, we have low salt, Alvi's Incredible. So something for everybody, really. I'm going to move this up just a little bit because I've removed that. You can take a look. You can see that's looking pretty nice, actually. And these,
Ooh, look at those.
you can see, are actually done. So those, the cookie bars, are looking just really, really good. Now, some of these, of course, you don't have that nice swirl like I was talking. This is how you get a nice swirl, and then I don't give you a nice swirl, but it was because of that mistake that I made. The flavor on these is going to be just as good. So we're going to cover that with frosting. So frosting covers our mistakes too. But we're going to cut that up, and the flavor is really what's going to give that. It's got salted caramel frosting. It's got the brown sugar cinnamon sweetening inside, along with that butter. And that's just going to be delicious. And maybe there will be an opportunity to do that. So
Yes, the video, it should be kept live on this page for hopefully a couple days.
I think it's a couple days.
And I'm gonna also download it so we can replay it later as well. So
Yeah.
yes, you'll be able to watch it again from the beginning
Thank
after it's finished being recorded.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, guys. That carrot. Okay, another thing I want to tell you guys about, another dessert that we discovered last night, a use for the Save the Day Sweetenings, is a candied popcorn. Guys, not kidding about this. This is one of our favorite things that we've done with the Sweetenings. So we've done a few different flavors. If you ever made caramel corn, you know the recipe's complicated. You use baking soda, you have to add it at the right time to your mixture that you're heating on the stove. This literally, 2 tablespoons of water and a 1/4 cup of Save the Day sweetening. You boil it for 90 seconds on the stove and then pour it over your popcorn and mix it in. It could not possibly be easier, and it couldn't be possibly more tasty.
Just water and the sweetenings. That's
Just
it?
water and the sweetening.
Just
that
water.
is it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and the same thing with using, like making hot fudge or making pudding with the chocolate pudding. milk and sweetening, and that is it. So there's natural thickener in there. The pumpkin spice and the chocolate we did here. The salted caramel was one of our favorites.
Yes.
It just literally tastes like caramel
It is
corn.
like caramel corn. And what's cool is all of them are vegan except for our chocolate, because it's a milk chocolate. There's some dairy in there, but everything else is dairy free. So you can make your candied popcorn.
That's right.
Super easy.
And then the fourth one we did was the brown sugar and,
Yes.
and cinnamon. And all of these I made last night. They're dry. They're not like sticky. The chocolate is a little bit, because it has like chocolate chips even in there, but the crunch is there. The flavor is there. It's a good one.
It's actually a 4th cup of the sweetenings and only 2 tablespoons water. So very little water.
Yeah, very, very little.
And
that does about 3 cups of popcorn. So you just expand as however much you want. Yeah. Okay, carving turkey. You can have a. Oh, you know what? What is going on? What is going on here? Am I doing a cooking demo? Julia Child would be ashamed. Okay. There we go. That's a little bit better.
Thank you.
There we go. So with carving a turkey, you have your light meat and your dark meat preferences, right? So where is the light meat? Where is the dark meat? Well, the light meat is your breast. The turkey breast. It's also the largest part where you have the most meat. The drumsticks, the wings, the thighs. The thighs is lighter, darker meat. These are darker meats. And on the bottom, there's a lot of dark meat that actually is on the bottom of the turkey as well. And so these, if they're cooked properly, are going to be really easy to come off, because you're going to cut it right at the joint and you just pop that right off. The breast, now you can do a couple ways. You can cut right at the spine, right along, cut that whole breast off, and then you can slice it, right? Or you can just slice a little slice off at a time, depending on what you want. We're going to go over also other uses for turkey, because once you have a turkey and you have turkey leftovers, what do you do with all those leftovers? So I have a few ideas on that. You can make turkey stock, of course, with this carcass. You can make turkey stock. So we have a recipe for turkey stock. You can use those, some of the neck and things like that. And that you can use to make your soups. You can use that to make turkey pot pie and all kinds of different stuff. And then with the actual meat of the turkey, you can, of course, you have sandwiches, you have your turkey casseroles, you have your turkey soup, you have all kinds of different things that you can do with those. Now, Jen, I don't know, do you want me to actually cut in the turkey? Are you going to end up taking some pictures with this?
Yeah, I want to take a picture of this turkey. We want to dress it with some pretty things, which we'll do there at the end. I don't know, do the people watching want to watch him slice the breast a little bit, or do you feel like that's enough for him to just, what about the knife? Does it matter what kind of knife you use? I
use a serrated knife. Now, a lot of people have electric knives. You can use the electric knife, and that's a nice way to cut a turkey. Honestly, you really can use any knife as long as it's sharp, and serration tends to help with the turkey as well. And it lets you get some of those crevices a little easier. Instead of, if it's not serrated, sometimes it'll tear or push the meat instead of cutting through at some of those joint areas or a little harder to reach areas.
So question real quick, does it matter the order in which you carve it? Like, should you start with the breast?
No, not necessarily.
Does it matter?
It seems traditional to always start with the breast. Just cut that breast off and put it, and usually you'll have a serving plate where you have a light meat section and a dark meat section. Usually the breast is easier, so you cut that off. And so once that breast is off, then it makes it easier to flip the turkey over and get to that dark meat on the bottom. So if you want to do the breast, you take the legs, you take the wings, and any of the side meat, and then you can flip it over and you get that dark meat on the bottom. But as far as doing this top stuff, it doesn't really matter what order you do it. Okay? What else am I missing here, guys? So the turkey is the last ingredient, and it's going to be ready for our Thanksgiving table. And we've got that out, and our roasted veggies are done, so we can take the roasted veggies out. So those are just delicious. You can see that they're They're still colorful. They're going to be flavorful. They have the Alvi's Incredible on it. And what you can do is you can add some of the Alvi's Inferno on your plate. On top of that, it'll make those super, super flavorful and spicy. Or you can even add something like Thai or Indian or Jamaican or something unique. The dill even, real dill or Italian, you can add that right on top of that. And so we start off with just a mild bit of Alvi's Incredible. So that tastes good by itself, but you don't put it, if you want to try some of the other seasonings, start off with just a little bit Alvi's and then you can add whatever you want. Okay, so here's our, yeah, you know what? I think that's going to be good. And I'm going to spread a little bit of this salted caramel right over here.
Oh, sorry. I think I'm gonna pass this off to Sammy, and then I'm gonna get the turkey looking pretty.
Thank you. Excellent.
And then if you cut into it, then you can cut it.
So this is to the point where I can just grab it. It may be a little bit warm, but what I really want to do is show you guys a little bit about the spreading of how this goes on. Now you don't need a ton on there, and there's not a ton here. Because you don't want to overwhelm people. This is going to be already quite sweet. But if you have something like this is wonderful to be able to spread at this angle. And then you can just work it around just like that. And let's see if I can scrape even a little bit more off here. And there we go. And that's ready to go. And I'm going to lick this a little bit because I can. So salted caramel is great because it has that little salty crunch. But the flavor on that, I'm really excited. I have not tried the salted caramel frosting with the cookie bar recipe yet. I have a feeling I'm going to like that one. I'm going to put these gizzards away because who likes gizzards sitting on the counter? Okay, and so while Jen is getting that ready, I'm going to show you a little bit about a few of our products. So I'll have you walk around this way here, and I'll show you what we got here. Our Thanksgiving pack, this is what I've been talking about. It has a universal baking mix. Now we're up to like 18 or 19 different things we can do with this universal baking mix. You normally would go to the store and buy one baking mix for brownies, one for cakes, one for cookies, one for all these different things, muffins. Our universal baking mix, you can make all those and so much more. Think about things like even pancakes and waffles. You can do it with these. So this has the Alvi's Incredible, and it has the brown sugar cinnamon and the pumpkin spice sweetening to help you to make the pumpkin pie. We have a cinnamon coffee cake recipe, a pumpkin bar recipe. That's a fabulous recipe, great Thanksgiving recipe for that. And we have a few of our other seasonings to try, the Mexican, the Italian, and the strong arm, all-purpose rub marinade. The strong arm is a little sweet and salty one, really, really popular. You got a little hot pad. This is normally $35 and this is $25. You can go out to our website. The picture is coming up in the morning, but there's no picture out there, but Thanksgiving pack is what that one is. And we have our, we're going to be giving away one of these as a prize at the end for the one who had the most points during the party. Our Super Sampler, it's one of our most popular products. It has our 18 different seasoning blends in the variety bag size so that you can try out these. And
okay, and they're wondering if there are 2 pumpkin spice and 2 brown sugar
yeah,
in
thanks.
there.
Thanks for asking about that. And actually, yes, there is.
Okay.
Two of each. Yeah,
Okay.
so that gives you enough to make the recipes that are provided. So you get to pick from those recipes, decide what you want to make. Then we have our sweetenings, and I stole the brown sugar cinnamon and put it somewhere, but these are our strawberry, chocolate, peanut butter, pumpkin spice, salted caramel, and lemon. And I'm just going to tell you a few different things that you can do with these seasonings and sweetenings. We have here the recipe card that goes with the Thanksgiving pack, but I also have here, this is just a list of the things you can make. Here's universal baking mix, yellow cake or cupcakes, all these different kind of cookies, chocolate chip cookies, snickerdoodles, peanut butter cookies, oatmeal cookies, sugar cookies. We've made all these with the universal baking mix. You just tweak a few ingredients, makes it super easy. Quick breads like zucchini bread, banana bread, cinnamon bread. We have a great cinnamon coffee cake with a save the date cinnamon crumb topping. That's what we made tonight. The cinnamon roll cookie bars, frosted pumpkin bars. We have muffins, brownies, pancakes and waffles. And am I missing something, am I? Okay. Bundt cake, guys. And a specific icing for bundt cakes and for sugar cookies. Cobbler crepes. Guys, you can do all of these things with our universal baking maker. Here's a few things also for the sweetenings. You can make that pumpkin pie, the candy popcorn, cheesecake, 4 ingredients plus a crust, cheesecake, ice cream topping, chocolate puddings, add them sweetenings to your coffee, your hot chocolate, your apple cider, and more things all the time. We're figuring out ways to use these.
The apple cider is my favorite.
Yeah, it's insane what you can do with it. So we have recipes that outline exactly what you do. You just decide what you want. You have everything you need on hand to make most of this stuff. So that's what we're really trying to do. Let us do the heavy lifting for you with your cooking, with your baking, with all of your dessert making. We're thinking we still do a recipe for pie filling with the sweetenings. That's going to be easy to do, and a number of other things we're thinking about. So, oh, look at that! Come on over. Let's look at this apple crisp. So the apple crisp is really, this should cook for 20 to 22 minutes. You're going to know when this is done because the apples are going to be tender. And guess what? These have been tender for a few minutes now. So I could have taken this out probably, 4 minutes ago and it would have been great. But look at that crumb topping. It's not overdone. You can see it bubbling. And like I said, you don't want a ton of liquid with the apples because it ends up being too watery. So once this cools down, we're going to get to taste this anyway. I can't wait for that. So that is delicious looking, and that's everything out of the oven. I'm going to put this second one in, and we're going to go ahead and set the timer for 10 minutes on that, so I don't forget. And that takes us to then, we've talked about all of the dinners, the desserts, the rolls. Happy to answer any. We have the apple cider here, and we're going to put in our teaspoon of pumpkin spice sweetening here.
This is like my favorite thing in the world.
Okay. What did my recipe? Let's see what our recipe says. 2 teaspoons for 8 ounces. These are probably 4 ounces, so we're going to do 1 teaspoon in there. Jen, are we doing both these the same? Yep. Okay, so pumpkin spice. These are so good, guys. Okay, so Jen says the lemon, if you didn't hear that, the lemon sweetening you can also add with the pumpkin spice. Yes, with the pumpkin spice, a little lemon sweetening for a wassail type of a drink, Christmas drink, traditional. And then that's apple juice with the pumpkin spice sweetening is delicious. It gives it just that right amount of spice and, whoa, okay. And then there's something blocking a little bit of that top. So,
Yeah.
so the whipped cream just gives that, you get that creamy texture in there, and that takes it to the next level. You know, and that's the same concept with the gravy. If you like it creamier, add the milk to the gravy. If you like your hot drink a little creamier, you're going to add that whipped cream to it. Totally personal preference. My personal preference, that is awesome. So that's really good. You do the same thing with hot chocolate, your coffee or whatever it is. Put chocolate in it, make your coffee a mocha. Make your hot chocolate, salted caramel in hot chocolate is really, really good. Or even the pumpkin spice. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at our Thanksgiving dinner table, guys. And this is our Thanksgiving feast completely done. And guys, we did that in 1 hour's time, getting all this actually set up and ready to go. Now, obviously, there was some prep work, but guys, I got here at 3:30 this afternoon and didn't start any of this until after 3 this afternoon, and at 7 o'clock we started. So it was just me and Jen, but mostly me doing this work here. to do one person a few hours work and you have this entire Thanksgiving feast. It's not hard because you have all the recipes you need, and yet you still have the freedom and the creativity of your own style that you can add the flavors that you want, such as adding something underneath the skin or doing an injection or some other kind of seasoning with the turkey. And so if you have any other questions, let me know. I want to thank you guys genuinely for tuning in tonight and talking about how you can have a really, really easy, really fun, and not over stressful, but overall super tasty Thanksgiving dinner. We want to help make that happen. You can go to SaveTheDaySeasonings.com, order, make sure you let us know who your host is that
In the memo section.
in the memo or special instructions. And just so glad to have been part of this with you tonight. And Jen, is there anything else?
Yes, we need to announce our winners.
Winners, thank
Yes.
you. We have the winners. And we're going to give away the super sampler
Yes,
then
let's come over here.
to,
So initially we talked about just this six variety bag box. So the variety box can hold 6 of the samples, or I should say
Variety bags.
like they're not really samples. But we thought it might be fun to give away 2 prizes. So one prize will go to the person who had the most interaction and comments and whatnot, the super sampler, and then the next runner-up will get the original, which was the variety box. So drum roll, the super sampler goes to our guest, Crystal Hagen. Congratulations, Crystal.
good job,
We
Crystal.
will be sending that to you. Of course, we're going to need your address if you want to message us that. And the next runner-up for the variety box is going to go to Misty Nichols. And in fact, she has already is indicated she'd like to host an online party, which, in case you didn't know, this is a more elaborate online party. Obviously, we spent a lot of time and energy doing all of these, a huge Thanksgiving feast. Certainly, most of our cooking classes are very simple. That recipe card you may have seen, it usually just has a few real simple recipes, and when we showcase our seasoning and sweetenings at our online parties, you can just follow some of those quick things like making a dip. You could do some sauces.
Do some
pasta.
roasted veggies or something. It's
Yeah, real
cheap, that's
simple.
easy to do at a party. Dips are really easy. A little popcorn would be great to do.
Yeah, you can do the popcorn. The
Not
idea,
expensive.
yeah, the idea is it's supposed to be simple. So we just wanted to showcase Adrian's skill set here in the kitchen for Thanksgiving. So obviously this was a much more elaborate cooking class, but
Yeah, a couple of products I can show you. These are sweet shots. So
Oh,
sweet
yes.
shots are great. Just you can take to put right in your hot drink or on top of ice cream or something like that, or just to try them out. These are our original blends. We've also do some. I don't have the combo blends, but mixed blends, which have say peanut butter and strawberry together. You have chocolate covered strawberry, or salted caramel brownie, or strawberry lemonade, and they're wonderful flavors you can try. Just great on their own. So,
all right.
all right, are we wrapping it up?
I think so. I don't see any other questions. Everyone's just saying thank you, and they really enjoyed it.
All right. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.